man once in charge of feeding 33,000 KSU students now faces a GBI investigation.
Well, the Attorney General's office has asked the GBI to investigate former Food Services Director Gary Coltek and KSU following Fox 5 I-Team revelations that Coltek was being paid on the side by a major vendor. A vendor he was also supposed to be supervising.
Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis returns with the very latest for us. Randy?
Sine and Russ, it turns out the Attorney General's office has investigated serious complaints about Coltek going back to 2011. He quit his $130,000 a year state job shortly after we began raising questions. Well, now he and KSU both face the same GBI investigation.
I absolutely do everything I do every single day for our students, for our community, for our students.
That was Gary Coltek in September, when he was still in charge of the award-winning KSU dining program. But a Fox 5 I-Team investigation uncovered evidence Coltek was also spending his time not doing for students, but doing for himself. This invoice shows a company owned by Coltek billing a major KSU vendor, Sodexo, for $20,000, plus a $3,500 monthly fee. During the time, Coltek was also supposed to be supervising Sodexo's multi-million-dollar contract to feed KSU students. Coltek would not explain to us what services he was supposedly providing to justify such a side deal. Sodexo is now looking into the arrangement, saying it takes seriously any reports of business conduct inconsistent with its values. The Attorney General's office also saw our investigation and quickly called in the GBI to investigate Coltek. But they're not stopping there. They also want the university investigated for failing to report potential violations of state and federal law to the appropriate authorities.
On my 5 or 6 trips with Kennesaw to Yangzhou.
Did KSU look the other way during years of questionable behavior from Coltek? Despite that knowledge, the school proudly marketed their food services director. Gushing articles about him lined the walls of the dining hall lobby. But we uncovered a buffet of concerns stretching back years. In 2011, the AG's office found evidence Coltek lied to police concerning 2 big private parties he threw using KSU food and staff. The AG choosing not to prosecute, largely because it was hard to determine how much KSU money was spent. 2 years later, KSU reprimanded Coltek, only made public by the Fox 5 I-Team, citing multiple conflicts of interest, faking a tax ID number, helping family members get jobs with vendors. Yet the AG's office says KSU never notified them about the reprimand. Despite everything, Coltek kept his job until we started asking questions. What do you think about the GBI investigating this now?
It's going to be interesting.
Adam Joseph once ran the dining program for KSU's Marietta campus. He actually worked for Chartwell's, the new vendor hired by KSU to prepare the food and feed the students.
Oh yeah, you're ready. You got a good grip. Right,
3 months later, the single dad was out of a job. He believes for asking his bosses too many questions.
You did?
Were one of those items about Xylast?
Yeah.
Xylast. We saw it everywhere in the Commons dining hall. A new hand sanitizer product that Coltek loved.
Xylast is a pretty revolutionary product that we have a big problem with norovirus on campuses. That's a company that our last producer, our last company that actually worked for us doing food on campus, Sodexo, brought that on board. Beta tested it at Kennesaw State.
Sodexo had no comment about Xylast. Why Chartwell's and Sodexo chose to bring it to campus is now part of the GBI investigation. Did they tell you what was so great about Xylast?
No, besides the fact that it was the client's product.
The client being?
Mr. Coltek, Gary Coltek.
Coltek also owns a company called Sustainovations. We found this tweet dated March 2015 from Alan Hardage, listed as the Vice President of National Sales for Xylast. I am proud to be working with Sustainovations to bring this amazing product to schools, hospitals, and airports. Hardage's office is in a building Coltek owns. Joseph said the talk among his bosses about Xylast was always the same.
They said, this is Gary's product, we have to use it. And sort of chuckled and sort of gave me a look like, don't ask anymore, it's just the way it is.
And did you ask any more after that?
No.
Before he resigned, KSU defended Coltek on many of the issues we raised, saying the Xylast tweet proves nothing. And both Coltek and Hardage denied to the school attorney any wrongdoing.
None of my companies are getting paid from any of those companies. I'm personally not getting paid. Nobody in my family is getting paid. It's just not happening.
Chartwells, the company currently in charge of all KSU food services, had no comment about Xylast, but insisted Adam Joseph was not fired for asking questions about Coltek's decisions. Still, Joseph wonders if he'd still have a job if he just kept his mouth shut about how tax money was being spent.
We're all taxpayers. I mean, there's thousands of kids that go to that school, and their parents pay taxes, and their parents send them to a school and pay a lot of money to send them to that school. And I'm sure they would want everyone there acting accordingly and acting properly.
KSU would not comment on the GBI investigation. In June, the FDA issued a warning letter to the makers of Xylast, complaining the marketing of the product made it, quote, an unapproved drug in violation of federal law. And we have posted letters from the Board of Regents and the Attorney General's office on our website that clearly show how upset both are with KSU.
And the GBI is on the case.
They are.
All right, Randy, thanks very much.
Randy.